Some thoughts today on why your live streaming at your church may not be working and what's next. We're going to talk about that today with Tyler Sansom and Kenny Jahng. Let's do it.
This is the definitive podcast for helping you plan, create, and execute dynamic worship experiences at your church. Useful, practical content in the areas of production, worship, communications, first impressions, and more. This is Making Sunday Happen.
Hey friends, on today's show, I welcome two great guests to the podcast, all on the topic of live streaming. I'm going to be talking with Tyler Sansom. Tyler is the lead pastor for First Capital Christian Church, or Church Anywhere. He's also a filmmaker for First Capital Films. He's a former college football player who's been in full-time ministry for almost a decade. I'm also going to once again give airtime, against my better judgment, to my friend Kenny Jahng. Kenny is the editor-in-chief at Church Tech Today, and both of these guys I interviewed live at SALT Conference. We talked about why live streaming at your church may not be working and what's next on the horizon. So both Tyler and Kenny offer some great insights into where church online may be headed. We'll do Tyler first and then Kenny. Here we go. Hey friends, if you are a ministry leader that needs high quality graphics and video content at your church and fast, be sure to check out our growing ready-made media library at 1230media.com. We have 9 product lines of fresh content, including mini movies, motion backgrounds, countdowns, full series kits, themed packs, and more. And we are adding to the library every single day, every single week, fresh content dropping inside the library. You can start downloading your church visuals today, either a la carte or through our annual subscription. It's all at 1230media.com/go for Go Unlimited, 1230media.com/go. Hey guys, I'm hanging out with Tyler Sansom. You are the lead pastor at Church Anywhere, right? Where is that located?
That is located right outside of Louisville, Kentucky in southern Indiana.
Awesome. So I was talking to you and super curious about what you do there. And you have a workshop here at SALT all about kind of the future of online, where we're going. So talk to me about maybe some from that workshop and then what you guys do at the church.
Yeah, over the last couple of years, we've really made kind of a philosophical shift in how we do ministry. I mean, for a long time, churches in America have been really event-based. So we love the weekend service, and we're not neglecting that. We still have an in-person, online weekend service. We've really shifted our efforts, though, towards a discipleship-based ministry, kind of trying to be involved in our people's lives as much as possible, whether that's in person or digital. So it's been really fun.
So walk that out for me. How does that work practically during the week?
Sure, man. One example, we gamified discipleship, essentially. So we created an app called One Step Closer for anybody can download it. But you get 3 challenges every day to look like Jesus a little bit more. So some are scripture reading, some are prayer, some are service, and every day it changes. So you get a push notification every day. So that's just one example.
Dude, that is so cool. So tell me, how did you make the app, and tell me some more about that, because that's a really cool idea.
We brainstormed the idea as a team, and then we're very, very low income area, so about 68% is under the poverty level where I'm located. So we had to get creative. We used Subsplash, which is not like an app designed for that.
Right.
And then we really had to get creative.
Kind of modular template based that you had to rework.
We had to like really graphic design it and utilize every possible feature to make this happen. So literally we have to go in every day and schedule the push notification. So somebody on staff is doing that manually every day, which is kind of crazy. But it's worth it because it's discipling people. So
all right, so help me think through the future. Obviously, I mean, you just said it. It's not a one-time event anymore. We want to be during the week. We want to be more of a discipleship model. So kind of give me some more tips on where you think the future of church online, this digital space is going.
Yeah, I think we've created a culture specifically with the age below me, so like Gen Z, Gen Alpha, that are geared towards creating their own brand. I mean, like you hear it from as early as like 10-year-olds. They understand branding, they understand their own platform through social media. So instead of looking at that as the enemy. Let's look at that as a tool that we can leverage.
Okay.
Let's teach them how to use their social media platforms for the gospel. And I don't mean necessarily like just like preaching on the internet, but like how can we take the things that they're interested in, build communities around those things, and empower these new generations to be Jesus online.
Okay, so what are some of the tools and resources that you provide them to do that?
We call them digital missionaries at Church Anywhere. One of the things that we've done is we created this training guide called Influencer 2.0. It's 2.0 because we've had one iteration before that.
Okay.
I'm sure there'll be a 3.0.
Okay.
Essentially what we did was we reached out to a bunch of social media influencers on the internet, both secular and Christian, and said, hey, can you give us 2 or 3 videos teaching kids how to become influencers and use that for the gospel? And like 9 of them said, yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so we have a 6-week training course called Influencer 2.0 that's free on our website, and we take anybody that wants to become a digital missionary through that, and we help build communities around their common interests.
So tell me how the response from that, how have the teenagers, folks at your church, how have these missionaries, how have they received that information, and maybe give me some stories of the result of that?
Yeah, they've received it really well. We've been doing digital ministry for a long time now, like going on a decade, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's part of the culture already within the church. Some stories, one of my favorite ones is, this is actually not young people. Some older folks got a hold of this and said, hey, we're really good at baking and we want to share the gospel. Teach us how. So they went through Influencer 2.0 and they started a YouTube cooking channel. And so they, it's called At the Table with the Guernseys, and they prepare a meal and share the gospel through these YouTube videos, but they created a Facebook group, and people share recipes and share prayer requests, and they're kind of pastoring this Facebook group of people through a common interest of baking.
So is it free? How do I?
Yeah, Influencer 2.0.
How do I look it up?
It's free. It's just on our website, churchanywhere.us.
That's awesome, man. So as far as Sunday morning goes, what do you guys do differently? Obviously, you're not thinking this is a one-time event. You're thinking throughout the week. So, but walk me through maybe things that you do differently in the digital space in your worship experience.
That's it's shifted over the years.
Okay.
So we were very much we've got to do something different for an online audience kind of church for a long time. So we would create completely different services for online.
Okay.
And then the market got really saturated with live streaming.
Yeah.
And so what we do now.
What happened? Something happened?
Yeah, there was you were there. 2020 happened.
I was trying to block it.
I would love to go and block that sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it became very saturated. And so we really, I would say that's the lowest on our totem pole of priorities would be our live stream on Sundays. So our weekend service in person has shifted with this attractional model shift to discipleship. We actually are taking ancient liturgies and modernizing them. So every week it looks completely different. We're making sure there's biblical elements, there's prayer elements, different kinds of things that they would have done in the early church, and it seems to be working right now. So our online experience looks like that. And then throughout the week, we can create online content that points people back towards that liturgy.
Okay, so people are still watching the live stream if they want to.
They are, yeah.
But are also engaging in other ways.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What are some of the other things in your workshop that you're wanting to share about?
Yeah, we're going to talk quite a bit about different platforms that are available that churches can use that aren't geared around events. The asynchronous communication that's available right now to help people with felt needs is huge. Things like He Gets Us, things like CV outreach. We're going to talk a lot about that. For us, a big thing that's helped grow our online presence has been talking with people with mental health issues. So we actually contracted out a counselor that's from an outside organization that works from our building and does both online and in-person counseling. So we push people towards that as well. Okay,
so tools like He Gets Us and others, how have you implemented those? Walk me through how your church uses those resources.
Sure, yeah, we use He Gets Us and CV Outreach very similarly. For those of you who don't know, CV Outreach, He Gets Us, they're basically felt needs kinds of videos and resources that connect people with local churches. So when you sign up, if they're in like a 100-mile radius, they're connected to your church if they hit the contact someone. So we've created teams within our online and in-person experiences that are basically care teams. So when we get these responses, they go to these care teams, about 18 people. And then beyond that, we have counselors on staff to send them to like the next level, or they can talk to a pastor, that kind of thing. So it's like He Gets Us is the big top end of the funnel, and it filters down to more one-on-one discipleship.
Right. So what does your week to week look like during the week as you disciple people using these tools? What are some stories or some things that you do during the week to press into those things?
So a big shift that's happened in the last 2 years is that every person on our staff is now both in-person and online pastor. So that's like a requirement to work at our church. Like, you have to do both online ministry and in-person, which is a huge shift. You can have some experience with that. But for us, looks a lot like relational ministry. So our weeks are not spent geared towards putting on a weekend service, and it's spent a lot more with talking with people. Like every person that's been baptized, we've paired them with a mentor over the last year. And some of that's our staff, some of that's our church people.
Good.
But it's all based on relationships.
So how's the staff taken to that? Has it been good response?
Yeah, it's been, for the most part, a good response. We had a running start because we've been doing online ministry for a while.
Right.
But you still, like, we have boomers on our staff, and that's not like a group that's digitally native.
Right.
But one of the things that you can't argue with is life change. And
that's right.
Like a 65-year-old counseling pastor that leads a guy to Christ in Alaska via Zoom, that changes you.
Absolutely.
And that's what we've seen.
Yeah, and you absolutely can't deny it, and that's a real person that they're talking to.
Yeah.
And so I think that's very true as we move into the future, where even if it's an avatar or even if it's something like that, there's a real person on the other end of that.
That's the stake is their eternal life, and so what could possibly be more important than that?
So what would you tell churches in experiencing stuff and doing things so digitally minded? What would you tell folks that are more leaning toward the physical experience? I'm going to use digital to push them to my physical experience. Maybe argue both sides for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not a big, like, it has to be one or the other kind of guy. So we're very much a hybrid. So that's a hard argument.
I'm with you there.
I would just tell you guys, like, man, the reality is it's here. Like, it's not coming. It's been here for a really long time.
Yep.
And there's a generation of kids that are Z and below that is their reality. There is no difference for them with connections, whether that's in person or online.
Right.
And so, like, do we care enough about that generation to use whatever tools available to lead them to Jesus? Or are we too stubborn and just are set in our ways that we don't care enough about that? That would be my answer. Good.
All right, so as lead pastor, what fires you up? Why are you still doing it? Give me your why.
Oh man, my why, for sure. Our church's why is to help people find and follow Jesus, and that's like the most generic answer possible.
Yeah.
But like every single time I get to talk to somebody about Jesus, I light up. So that would be my why. I know that sounds like a cheesy answer, but it really is what it is.
No, so let me get personal for a second. So tell me about your family. You were telling me that you guys adopted a boy or a girl?
It's a girl, yeah.
Okay, so you adopted her when she was 16,
yeah,
right?
We started fostering her when she was 16. We adopted her when she was 17.
Wow.
This is crazy. We actually met her through a microsite. So we do
microsites
cool. via online ministry.
Okay.
And one of them is at a orphanage, and my wife and I volunteer there.
Man, what a story for digital.
Right?
Hey, this is the real life.
That digital connection led to me having a physical family, and now I'm a 29-year-old grandpa. So, heck yeah.
Wow. That's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for what you do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Hey guys, I'm hanging out with Ryan McMacken, one of our awesome video producers on the 1230 team. Ryan, let's talk about ready-made media and give me some of maybe just the joy that you have in working the variety of adult, kids, students, just all the product types that we have in our libraries.
Well, you said it with variety. That's the biggest joy for me. I'm somebody who has an eclectic taste in music and an eclectic taste just in ideas in general. I get bored easily, so I like moving from one thing to the other. So to be able to work on a kid's project one day and an adult project the next day and a student project the day after that, it really keeps my mind fresh and my mind engaged on being creative and on coming up with this. And I love too that there's such a plethora of things for churches to look at. When I've been on staff at churches for the better part of 20 years, so I understand what it's like to get to Christmas again and have to once again come up with something, and a lot of times you don't want to rehash what you've done in previous years. So to have an option like 1230 where you can go and look and see different Christmas ideas. I mean, that's so cool. And that for everything too, for regular sermon series, for different holidays. I know what it is, one, to be in a time crunch, and two, to kind of feel like you're just out of fresh ideas, and to be able to have something where you can go and see other people's ideas and then be able to download quality products for that. I mean, that's just such a valuable resource. And so I think I love that we have that variety. And I think that variety is important too, just that people can have different series all the time, that they can really look at, what works for us in our environment. I love that. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that we try to do. One, our libraries are not 100% modern or contemporary designs. There's a mixture between more traditional looking stuff and then more contemporary or modern looking stuff. And then also one thing that I love that makes us unique is that, a church with a larger budget might have the opportunity to use us for custom content. But with the ready-made libraries there, that's kind of the Walmart approach too.
Right.
So you get the Walmart and you get, a larger, custom work if you needed that also. So, man, thank you for all the work that you do for our libraries. You do a lot of the video content for all of our ready-made product lines and types. And, man, just really appreciate your work and everything that you do.
Thank you, Carl. I love doing it.
Hey guys, I'm hanging out with the one, the only Kenny Jahng. Kenny, so you're about to do a workshop here at SALT.
Absolutely.
All about Livestream is not working anymore. What is next? So kind of walk me through the premise of what you're thinking.
Well, we're hearing from a lot of pastors and church leaders that back in the heyday, we can say back in COVID days, right?
Right.
All the church online pastors loved it because we reported the highest numbers that we've ever had in the history of the church.
Right.
But now we came back and there seems to be a dip. And so a lot of churches are questioning, like, what do we do with the live stream? Like,
do we still need to pour energy into it?
Yeah, it just seems like we're doing so much, but we're not getting those big numbers. And usually the senior pastor, they want to see those numbers because they felt the potential, and everyone's stuck. So what we're actually in that conversation now, in this dip. What's next? What are we supposed to do?
So what are you coaching pastors to do?
Well, I think there's a fundamental false belief that we are actually seeing is that live streaming for church is equated with only Sunday, right? Putting a camera in the back of the room, streaming the Sunday services on stage is the only thing that church leaders are looking at. And they're looking at it and say, hey, because that's not working, let's cancel all of the video stuff that we're doing online.
Right.
And that's really not the way we should be doing it.
All right, so let's talk the future. What does the future of church online, live streaming? By the way, we should probably make a distinction.
Yes.
So I want to walk this out and see if you agree, see what you think. So I kind of make a distinction between your live stream is just your cameras in the room, you're streaming that so that I can see what's happening in the room.
Right,
just a stream of what's happening. I distinguish that between that and a church online experience where I am being super intentional. I have greeters in there, chatters in there.
Yes.
I'm doing maybe an online host, and it bails to the.
You're speaking my love language, Carl.
So it's super intentional, right? So I kind of make that distinction between live stream and church online experience. So do you agree with that? But a lot of churches kind of lump that into, this is my live stream.
Yeah, they think it's all the same. Look, back in the day, there's some old school conversations and debates when I was a church online pastor and we were all like innovating here together. There were churches out there that were doing a church online service every hour on the hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And from my perspective, I said, look, we're not the church of Netflix. Just the Bible, the text says where there are two gathered, right? Not just one and a play button. And so for us, when we did church online, we needed to make sure that there's someone's trained, that's moderating, that's attending the chat, that's available for prayer, for conversations, and also bringing them in and seeing next steps, connecting them to a local church, connecting them to other people. So I agree with you that live streaming itself, just putting a camera in the back of the room, is not enough. We are not the church of Netflix.
Right.
We are more. We are a community, and it's all about relationship. You can't have a relationship with yourself. That's not what we're doing here in church. So yes.
Right.
However, most churches do. They lump it together.
Mm-hmm.
And even church online, I think there's so much more that we could be doing with Sunday services to make sure that it is something that actually is life-serving and a flourishing for worship. However, the bigger question, I think, is what do you do with video and streaming and virtually mediated things? You have to respect the medium. And respecting the medium for video means not just Sunday, in my opinion.
Good. So I want to dive into kind of the future here in a second. But so the name of our podcast is Making Sunday Happen.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess my question to you is: should we still have an event on Sunday or multiple times?
Yes.
Should we still have that event plus discipleship during the week, or should we cut that event?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. So one of the things in our worldview is saying that the way that most of the church looks at all of church is that Sunday happens, and that allows for the rest of the week's ministries to actually unfold. And I think from the church online experience and the learnings that we've had in community building online is that we're flipping the script and saying that you have the opportunity not to just focus on Sunday, but actually do things throughout the entire week so that Sunday happens, so that Sunday is a real coming together, a gathering, a celebration that we want to come together on Sunday because of all the community relationships and impact that's happened during the week.
Right. But obviously we're in total agreement. Sunday is not the end all be all.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk the future. So in your workshop, you're going to deliver 3 kind of distinctives of where the future of the church online needs to go. Walk me through those 3 things.
Yeah, so we're in the old school model, right, up to now, right, pre-COVID, we tried to accomplish everything in that 1 hour of Sunday service. And we're saying if we pull that apart conceptually, there's multiple buckets, but there's 3 important ones that you could accomplish outside of Sunday as well. So one of them is evangelism. Right? We want to invite our neighbors and actually evangelize to that person to come into that Sunday room. But you can do that outside of Sunday. You want to actually disciple people. You want to bring them deeper into a relationship and their next step, whatever it may be, with Jesus Christ. You can do that outside of Sunday. Third one is community. Bring together people peer-to-peer and actually build something together. Again, so that they have an impulse to want to gather together on Sunday. So it's evangelism, discipleship, and community. Those 3 buckets are things that you can actually accomplish with video, with remote, with church online, with ministries outside of Sunday.
Okay, so let's dive into the 3 of those.
Absolutely.
And talk about ideas that video can be used for those things.
Sure.
So tackle evangelism first. How can we use video and other tools as well? But but obviously video is, would you agree, that number 1 top communication tool online?
Look, I've been saying for several years now, video is the new black. You got to get on board. And the best time to start was 4 years ago, 10 years ago. But the next best time is right now. Whatever you're doing, start investing in video now. So in terms of evangelism, there's so many creative things that innovative churches are doing out there. One of them is Grace Church in Boston. They are using video in a very innovative way for reaching out to the community. They are actually promoting webinars on a felt need. It might be parenting, homeschooling, personal finance, whatever the topic might be. They are literally advertising on Facebook or Google for a webinar to get 75 to 100 people into that webinar. The call to action is not come to church, right? Everyone wants to do that, but hold yourself back a little. Go to the webinar, but the call to action at the end of the webinar is to join a seminar. So you go from a room of 75 to 100 people to a seminar for 3 or 4 weeks. That's maybe 25 people, 24 people or something like that. And then the call to action at the end of those couple of weeks in a seminar format on the same topic to go deeper is to join a small group environment, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. So you actually get to know people much more intimately. And guess what the journey at the end of that small group experience is? Inviting them to church that happens to have a sermon series on that topic. So it doesn't feel like a bait and switch, right? Many times that you'll be brought into a church for some felt need, you get invited to a Sunday service, And it has nothing to do with what you're actually going through in life right now. And so that type of experience is a great way, creative way, to use marketplace best practices for church evangelism.
Okay, maybe this can lead us into discipleship, but how do you equate that with, does everything need to be topical? Or, I mean, obviously there are topical things in God's Word, but also, too, there is an argument that we need to teach either verse by verse or Scripture as it is, that everything can't just be topical. So bring that discussion into discipleship.
So there are many tools out there, and a lot of churches make this is another false belief. They make the mistake of thinking, we need to produce everything. We need to be the ones that create every single thing. And then the burden is on the media team, as you know. It's just too much. We feel like we're on what I call the treadmill of death of that beast of the content machine that just asks us for work. So there are many resources out there in that type of discipleship place. The Bible Project is a great resource. They've created amazing explainer videos across the books of the Bible, the narrative of the Bible, etc. Theos U is another one that has, it's a little bit of like a mini systematic theology for the layperson, available in video format that you could use individually, in groups. There's so many different ways to use it. So yes, there's so many tools that are both topical, but also that can go through the Bible deep, chapter by chapter, verse by verse, etc.
Good. Okay, so we talked evangelism, we talked discipleship. Give me the third one.
Third one's community. Community is something you want on a Sunday, but that's not the only place you should have it. In fact, again, we don't want to necessarily always originate community on Sunday so that it happens the rest of the week. We can start the seeds of community during the week so that they want to come experience the larger community on Sundays. So a great example of community is prayer, right? So Daniel Strickland has a great ministry called Infinitum Life. She has a monthly prayer gathering. And again, this is great because she's using synchronous and asynchronous models. So basically, on a monthly basis, they gather, I believe, for like 30 or 45 minutes, and you get to know each other. And then you break asynchronously, offline, by yourself. There's guided prompts and meditations, etc., journaling that happens for 2 hours by yourself. And then you're called back into the group again synchronously to process and share what God's teaching you, what God's leading you, and going through that.
And these
together.
are through Zoom? These are through, what is he used to?
I think she's just basically using Zoom. There are other platforms out there that you could use, but right now Zoom is the universal base foundation that everyone knows how to use. And sometimes it's like, keep it simple. You don't need to overcomplicate things.
Right, good. What else is burning with you? What else are you sharing in the workshop, or maybe some things that you're getting from pastors that you're like, man, I want to answer this?
Yeah, so we've got Jason Morris and Tyler Sansom. These guys are people who just live and breathe innovation. And one of the things I love is, one, bias for action, right? Like we as the church online digital ministry people have to understand that there's no right answer right now. We are called to make mistakes, stumble ahead, try again, and share. This is the biggest thing. Share what you're doing with others and learn what other people are doing so that you can actually innovate on it too. So this is a community. This is why we love SALT. This is why I love your ministry, because every time we have a conversation, we share trade talks and all that kind of stuff. What's working, what's not. That is what we need. We need more community in the practitioners of the church ourselves.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Always love being here.
The show notes for this episode are available now at makingsundayhappen.com.
Hey guys, thanks so much for being here. I can't thank you enough for the privilege of partnering with you in ministry. Thank you for liking and watching this podcast. We hope and pray every single week that it is a benefit to you and your church, who we have on, and the content that we share. We're praying that it will help you enhance your Sunday worship experience, help you make Sunday happen better. So thanks for being here. All right, next week on the show, I welcome worship leading duo Shane and Shane. Shane Bernard and Shane Everett will be in the house. Over the last few years, the Shanes have dedicated their lives to encourage and equip worship leaders and their teams through an online resource called the Worship Initiative. We've had several of the artists in their group on the show, and I'll talk with them about the Worship Initiative, and how to raise up the next generation of worship leaders to make Sunday happen. All that and more is next week on the show. Well, go out there and create some incredible worship experiences at your church this weekend. I'll catch you next week.
Making Sunday Happen is a production of the ministry of 1230 Media. For show notes, archive episodes, and more free resources for your church, visit makingsundayhappen.com.